Self-love is a choice. And if you were to make that choice each and every day of your life, you would have everything you wanted. You would have the career that you wanted. You would have the abundance. You would have the relationships. You would have absolutely everything if you were to make that choice. But we don't always do that because when we come into the world, we have different evolutionary paths that we're meant to live. And that means moving through some difficulties or challenges to get to that place where we can have self-love. But I'm going to read you a message and I'm going to prove to you that you can have it because I know that because I've created a blueprint for you to get there. I was given a plan to give you to understand how important you are in this world. And so, but let me read you this message that came through a year ago on this date, on July 13th. I'm saying this because many of you might know I receive information precognitively. It's before it actually shows up in our world. That is something that was challenging for me to accept, and maybe possibly many of you. However, when you can understand that you are this eternal spiritual being and you're having this physical life experience. Maybe you might get a little bit more of this, but you will understand it today because I'm going to read this message and then I'm going to have a recording at the end of it that will explain absolutely all of it. And by the time you're done with it, you're going to be in a completely new place about yourself. And you're going to also understand my work. You will understand why these last week I done these things. I created something called the blueprint for the science of fulfillment, because I wanted everyone to understand the what I have created, how you change, how our world operates. And it was in that video. Then I did something where I said I have the blueprint for success because I know I have it. Now you may not want it, you may not take it, but I know that I have it because it takes you to who you're meant to become. It takes you to your authentic self. And when I told everyone about the information that I received in 2012, I was also given birth dates, meaning that if a message on your birth date is going to be more resonant for you. And why would that be? Well, it's because I'm connected to the divine, and that's how I could bring in this information. Well, I know that every single soul born has worth and value that they're meant to bring into the world now. And if they start to love themselves, they will do that, and they will have everything that they want. This is also the reason that I said I was making changes in my program next week, because I have to move up to the plate, which you'll see on this, because the recording that you will hear is also from a year ago. But it will make sense for you today, and you will understand the timing is always perfect in your life and in our world. This is the message. July 13th, 2023. Self-love is a choice. It is also the goal you set for yourself during your physical life experience. No one can make that choice for you, and it is one you make with every thought you hold about yourself and with every judgment you have chosen to believe that said you were inadequate. We gave you a message on this date in 2012, for we knew where you might find yourself and the world now. You choose self love when you accept and understand the significance of your life journey. No insignificant souls were ever born, but you are the ones who decide. Your choice now is more consequential than you might have known, for when you choose to love yourself, you place an energy of light and love into your life and your planet, which is the purpose of this restructuring. It is also why we planned our live conversation on Monday. For your planet will have another opportunity for your self-love to transform your world. The timing of all events, circumstances, and situations that show up in your physical life experience is always perfect for you. It is perfect because it provides clues, so to speak, of the divine plan laid for you. You often do not notice this, for you have learned the habit of being impatient and lacking trust. Yes, they are indeed habits that have been reinforced for many years throughout your life. When you honestly attempt to notice the timing, its perfection will become evident. It can even be in the most minor situations or moments, but that is enough for you to begin to trust the integrity of your physical life journey. Now, that message, when it came through, I couldn't have told you how accurate it would be today, but it is. But that's the alignment that I had that I could bring in this information. And also, the other thing that happened because I brought it in, it caused me to heal. And this is what I'm giving back to everyone else. You will hear in the recording where Wilhelm is talking about how we all evolve and how the world evolves, and certain people come in to bring information that can bring in new information. And that was the life that I was given as a mystic or prophet. And so, and it does work because the results have been proven, but it's about up leveling another level of consciousness in our world so that we're seeing a very different world and we're also living very different lives. And as you listen to this, you will make a choice about if you want to work with me or someone else, but you will understand what is happening in our world right now. But please share this video with others. If it's your first time here, please subscribe. But I'm telling you, once you listen to all of this and put it together, you will see that you are in the best place possibly you could ever be in your life to make a choice to love yourself. And if you do that, you will have that great life and you will make a contribution to our world, because that is also the reason for your birth. See you soon. Here, we will get started in just a moment, but we're going to begin with the wonderful Yarna, who will bring us into presence.
Yeah, presence is a key to enjoy life and to create magic, to create what you want to create. So welcome and thanks, Roger, for the wonderful and short introduction. So I invite you all to close your eyes now, if you feel like it, and dropping deep, very deep inside of who you are. If you're still looking for this answer, know that you are not alone, that many humans on this planet who are walking on this planet are looking for themselves. Though what many do is they look outside of themselves, and you find yourself within. There's nowhere you need to go to find yourself. Deep inside your heart is the connection to your soul, to who you are. So place your hands on your chest and say thank you to yourself. Be grateful to yourself. Send some loving thoughts to your body and say loud or quiet in your mind, I am letting go of what I do not longer need, and I receive what is meant for me. Thank you, Divine Mother. Thank you, Divine Father, for receiving and giving of what is mine. Love, prosperity, abundance, creating heaven on earth with my brothers and sisters, as we are all one, as we are all united. Take a deep breath and exhale. Exhale peace. Exhale relaxation, harmony. Bring your awareness to the center of your forehead. Set the intention to activate your spiritual self, to integrate your spiritual self into physical form, to channel your higher state of consciousness, to channel your soul. You have the ability to be in that state always. You are powerful. You are as powerful as every other human being. So set the intention now to live in that power, to have integrated that power, and to share your power with the world, to share the power with your family, your friends, with those who you love, and love yourself. Love what you do and do what you love. Thank you. Let's go, Raj.
Thank you so much, and we are ready to begin. We are so pleased you're here. Now, we know we say that to you every time you show up, and for those of you who were here the first time, you've never heard that. However, you will understand it today. It won't matter when you might happen to hear this recording or view it again, because it will still be the same thing. And the title that we used, Your Life is More Meaningful Now. Your life has always been more meaningful. You just figure that out as you move along on your physical life path. Now, we have given you guidance for this particular time because we're going to tell you that you all here now to help your world transcend, to help your world becomes what it wanted to become. And it can only do that through you, which means that you have to let go of what was old and embrace what's new. That's not easy for many of you because you don't believe a lot of things about yourself. And this is why we've given you all of our messages. And the one that we gave you today, which we want all of you to pay attention to, we said, and this is on our site, you'll see it on Any Advice for Today, we said it's never too late, because many of you are measuring your chronological ages as in terms of what you should have accomplished or might have accomplished or gotten done. That never matters. You do it at the time that is right on your evolutionary journey, and it's going to be different for each of you because you are unique beings. And then we gave you another one that we took you back to 2012. What we've done all of these years, for many years now, we've been taking you back and showing you information that we gave you on very specific dates, because it's humans, you use your linear time to keep track of things, but you only do that in increments, shall we say. And so we gave you some messages over the last couple of weeks, if you go back and look, where we took a particular date and gave you message after message on that same date year after year, to illustrate to you that you grow in your awareness and your consciousness. So please stop judging yourself, because you have not gotten to the place of where you wanted to reach in your life because you're still in process. This is why we've said we've waited for you your entire lives, because we're speaking to you from the universal wisdom and consciousness that you all possess, that you're attempting to get back to. Your world is doing the same thing, but you have trouble at times because you don't understand how important you are. You don't understand what you have moved through in your life is so valuable to the collective consciousness, and this is why you were born. There were no insignificant humans born, and you didn't have any insignificant lives that you were living. Everything that you have moved through, as we've said over and over again to get you to understand, was something that was a restriction or limitation that had existed in your life from before. It doesn't matter if you remember about past lifetimes or all of that, because everything is happening now. But if you look at your life now, look at this lifetime, and you will see the things that you did not do. And now you're looking at it and go, well, what am I going to do now? Well, this is the time to do it. And this is why we said we planned it on this date. Many of you do not understand the connection of energy in your universe and the connection that you each have, but it's all unique. And as we've said, it was given to you. Your genetic code was given to you when you were born. That would tell you the particular things that you were meant to move through, or wanted to move through in your life, we should say, that would add to your evolvement in your individual path. And then you would give that information to your world. Not everyone will do that, as we've said. And there's some of you who are kind of understanding understanding this now, but you've also been a little afraid of it. You're starting to awaken to different aspects of yourself, which you thought you would never do, especially when you start talking about something spiritual. What does that mean? And we're telling you, we gave you something new because we want you to let go of your biases, and the biases have existed within you about who you could become and what you could achieve in your world. And we talked about, we had our messenger here in the last couple of days write several articles because we wanted to lead you to this day, because this is a really powerful day in your universe and we wanted you to take advantage of it. But we had him explain how evolution works. Evolution works because each being that comes into the world decides that they're going to create something new, and that is you. There's no separation. There's no difference in any human what they might do. It's just about how much are you going to believe, how much are you going to accept, and that is a day-by-day process. Now, the message that we have on the screen today is one that we gave you a year ago. Now, we wanted it because we knew that would be closer. You see, because you can't remember things that went on before. You can't remember your ancient history. And if more of you did that, you would understand what was occurring now. And we do things very sneakily. We just say we sneak things in to give you some more awareness. Yesterday was a really monumental day that none of you knew about. It was another time in your history, in your civilization, where you made a choice that you were still trying to figure out. And that's when you decided you were going to test the atomic bomb. We said it was going to be in the United States, and we've said that the United States would lead the way in this restructuring. Now, you're going to have different perspectives about what that did. Some people will say that development of that ended your war, possibly, but then you created more. But then did you stop other things? But you kept killing people, and you're still doing that now. This is why you're having a restructuring. This is why we've given you all of our work, so that more of you could come to the awareness of how wonderful and brilliant you are, and the life path that you chose to live that would be available now to help your world ascend to the next level of existence that you all have the ability to accomplish. And we will tell you how you will feel when you get there, because this is what our work will do, because we've given it to you, and we've given you a being who could demonstrate it for you, because we thought that maybe if you saw demonstrations of what was possible, but that you would believe that it was possible for you. And this is why we keep having him speak about his age at being 73 almost in November. That's when he will turn that age, but we have him talking about it now because some things are unbelievable for all of you. And if you see on the screen, we even talked about how he could not believe what we had given him all of these years. It's the same for you. You each have been endowed with some beauty that you were meant to bring to the world, and it's going to be unique and different, and no one else has it. We gave you that message on January 11th of 2012, saying your story is unique because no other soul shares precisely your story. And the more of you that come to understand that, you stop killing each other, you see, because you don't make other people wrong, you won't make yourselves wrong. We have given you so many messages leading to this particular day, because this is the day we decided we were going to change everything and get more of you to understand what we have been doing for these decades. It has not just been these few years. Many of you think that the world started shifting when you had your pandemic. Well, that's been going on forever. And so when you go in, and many of you will know this, and you have many beings on your earth now who are aware of this and doing it in subtle ways that you might not have seen. But you have a movie coming out because you find things in your entertainment that you're not really always paying attention to. But the movie is Oppenheimer. And see, Christopher Nolan, the director, he had this great vision. He knew that he wanted others to understand the particular choices that you might be making now in your lives and how that would affect your future world. You're always creating your future, no matter who you are. You're always creating. Each of you individually create the world in which you live. This is why we gave you the message several days ago, where we said you are the teacher responsible for the condition of your world. We've given you so many over the last several days because we wanted to come to this moment so you could see the connection of what we have given you all these years. And if you were to use this information, your life would be wonderful. You would have everything that you wanted. You would stop hating yourselves. You would stop doubting who you are. But it's a process. And this is why we don't want you to judge yourself, because you must understand you have to use your human brain. If you didn't have to, we don't use your human brain. This is why we can give you dates that make no sense to you. But if you look up July 16th of 1945, you'll understand what we meant. And then you didn't understand what that particular moment did to your humanity. See, because now you've lost a little bit of your humanity and you're trying to get it back. What we're talking about is understanding that every single person in your planet is important. But now you're going to fight about that. And we've also said that this particular period, and we started this in the very beginning when we started giving you these talks almost 2 years ago, we said our goal was to help you move through your fear and doubt so that you could come to love. See, because when you move through those things, you do come to understand how powerful you are, what you have to offer, and it's just been in development. And we gave you other things that we said you're the butterfly, you've been in a cocoon, and now is the time for you to find those wings and start to fly. And this is why we've given you all of our work, and we've had to push even our messenger so much more. We're acquiescing to his request to not use his name anymore because we're just calling him our messenger. Because see, when he listens back to the recordings, he will hear what we said about him that he did not do, that he still hadn't done. Many of you do that, and then you start to go into regret. Please understand that it takes time for you to accept your brilliance. That's what we want to say, because you each have it. There's no one who doesn't have it. And then the other thing you do, you will make these classifications in your lives that what you are doing is not important. You have not ever understood energy. You have not understood the importance of your existence, because there are so many of you who think, well, I didn't have any struggles that I went through. Well, are you happy? There's no more contribution, greater contribution that any of you could make was to move through your old limitations and restrictions, which are all generational, we want to say, because that's why they're coming up now. And we said the United States would lead the way, and you're seeing it today. We would like to say that we have been fortune tellers, but that's not it. We just feel energy. And so we said your financial markets and everything were going to change. And what do you have now? You have in the United States huge strikes that have not gone on forever, because you're trying to figure out more equality. You're trying to figure out how can you move the money around in a different way so that people can have more of it and survive. And we've told you that we wanted you to become more prosperous, and you kept wondering, why are we talking about money so much? Because this is the change that is happening in your world, and you cannot create the world that you want to see, the one that you want to exist, until you allow yourselves to become prosperous, to allow yourself to love who you are, to understand the experiences that you have had have been valuable, and you put something into the yourself. Many of you, we're going to speak about this. Many of you have moved through some really challenging experiences in your life, and then you hide from them, and you feel shame, and you're embarrassed, not understanding that you had agreed to move through those challenges so you could give something back to others. But then you have to move through this embarrassment that you carry in your soul, that's generational again, by the way, and then you have to move it out. We had our messenger write an article many, many years ago declaring his racist and misogynistic tendencies. We said that because you all have them. If you don't understand that you come from generations of limitations that have gone back for centuries that you don't have any memory of, but consciousness is eternal. This is why we've said to you, we've waited for you your entire lives, because you've always existed. You're eternal spiritual beings. You have different incarnations where you agree, and we're saying that purposefully because we want you to understand it. You agree to move through certain experiences, because if you do that, then your evolutionary path becomes lighter, and so does that of your world. That is what happens. There's no exceptions to that. Now, perspective. You're going to see, and we've spoken of this often, you're going to see so many people in your world that you're just going to hate. You're just going to think these are the worst folks in the world. Why are they in my experience? They're in your experience so you could remember who you are. You would never see them, or you would never have judgment about them, unless it was some judgment that you're holding in yourself that you want to get rid of, because it never serves anyone, doesn't serve you, and it doesn't serve your world. And this is what you're all moving through now. And as you have another looming strike coming up that could really put another financial dent in your entire world, and the United States will be responsible for that one as well, as we've said. But you don't have to do that, because everything is consciousness, you see. And if more of you start raising your consciousness, if more of you start allowing yourselves to thrive and become happy, because you can do it. We've given you everything to do it. And that's the part that you didn't believe. Even our messenger did not believe that, even though he's demonstrating the experience of that in his life. He's looking at all the times that he almost died. That was the other one we want to talk to you about, because many of you have had these near-death experiences and you think that you did something wrong to have that happen. No, you didn't. You just wanted to explain and demonstrate what life can be when you move through something that is the most terrifying thing that any of you could experience, and then you discovered it's the most glorious place that you ever want to move. Now, we're talking about things that many of you will not understand at this point, because we've also talked about ultimate reality. See, because what happens is when you move through more of your third dimensional life and come to this ultimate reality, you start to see, oh, wait a minute. I was just judging myself for no reason. I am this beautiful being, and I just have all of these energies about it. I can just do anything that I want. That is the awareness that you come to. And then you start to understand, I'm no longer afraid of my own death, because that other side is great. Now, we're going to talk about that, because many of you have gone to the other side and you didn't want to come back, because it was just so pleasurable there. You don't have to go through all the grief that you did in the 3D world. Yeah, our messenger did that too. He had one that he had completely forgotten about because it was so painful, but he almost died, and not when he was 25 and after going through a surgery. And he was content to like go off into the ethers because he was bleeding out and it felt wonderful. We said, no, you can't go yet. And that was painful coming back, though. Many of you, how glorious it is. But this life is when you're supposed to have a good time. That's what we're saying to you. We speak in very different ways. We do not, as we've said, we've given you something very different. We gave you a new philosophy. It's not going to follow any of the other channels or spirit guides that you might be following and all of that, because we said we do not connect to one, because we are a collective. This is why we can give you universal consciousness that hits many of you and you don't understand why. And you read our words and you'll always say, oh, it feels like they're talking directly to me. We are, because we can see where you are. We can see your doubts. We can feel your anxiousness. That is never necessary, which we've also said, but that is a concept that your consciousness must move to. It's a gradual thing. But please understand that your world does the same thing, but it can't do that without you. See, that's the important part. And we've given you many messages over the years that the biggest difficulty you have is not understanding your importance and significance in existing in the world, because the energy that you emit is just as powerful as anyone else's. And this is why we keep asking you the question, what would make any other human being on the planet more powerful than you? Nothing, except the way that you think. Now, we will say that because we can feel, many of you said, oh, well, wait a minute, I haven't been doing that. Well, yeah, you also have evolutionary paths that you don't remember, and they're connected to your ancestors. Please understand that your ancestors didn't know what they were doing yet. You were supposed to come in and fix that. That's why you're here. This is what your life has been about. And this is why we've been giving you all of this information. Now, this particular day, you wonder why that we make this such a big deal, because you will see all of the planets that are moving in configurations that have never happened, and it's going to shift your world into a completely different place. But it will not do that unless more of you start to own who you are. We've even told our messenger that he has to start moving his work, our work, up to a higher level, and we'll give him through July, because when you go through the next few months of your Earth planet, you're going to see many changes, and we want you to be fortified and know who you are. And then in the next, well, we've given you many different dates, but a year, but you have, let's say, as many have coming to understand now, but it doesn't have to be that. The way the planets are moving, it'll be the next 18 months, but you could make it much quicker in your own life if you start to own who you are now. Because see, that's a collective energy that you will all put into the world, and it will cause things to happen. It causes things to manifest. When you understand and study your quantum sciences, you will begin to get a greater sense of this. And these things only get discovered over time, you see. And so it was challenging for our messenger to believe that he was a person to bring in a transformational program through his. Well, we thought, well, who else could do it? Now, we'll give you something else. And those of you who might be astrologers, if you want to check all of this out, look at the configurations of the planets on this day and understand why we did this and what's coming up in the next couple of days. And understand the Scorpion connection and how that's moving out of a different place and moving into something else. And then understand Pluto. Because if you understand the planet Pluto, which many don't understand the significance of that, but that is about the United States. That return began when the United States declared who they were and said, we're going to build a world that's equal and for all, and that didn't happen yet. You see, this is why you're having a restructuring, so maybe you can get it right. And the only way that you get it right is through you. And we gave you something else the other day, and we said your good self always wins. And we knew that would be a little cryptic for all of you, but you've always existed, and you've had other lifetimes where you've done bad things because you're still judging yourself now. Please let go of that. You've judged, yes, you've done all of that, but that's the only way that you can expand you or your world, when you do things that do not serve the highest good of all. And we're saying that because this particular period, if you're doing something that's just about you, that's just going to about being taking something from the others, then you're going to have a really difficult time, because the planet is moving into a new world where there's going to be more cooperation, where more beings are feeling included and equal. This is why we gave you this being in the black body, and has all these other issues that he had to move through to say, oh, wait a minute, no, I'm brilliant. This is what each of you can do. And the more of you who decide to do that, your world will start to shift into the world that you want to see. Now, we're saying this because we are still, again, he feels like we're always yelling at him, which we are, because he knows these things, as you can see on the message. He's known for a long time, just as you have. This is why we're saying it in this way, because we can feel how you've kind of felt certain things, but you just started, no, that couldn't be me. It is you. It just takes time for your physical brain to accept that. And this is why we keep talking about neuroscience, because the more of you will understand that, you will start to give yourselves a break. And then you'll start taking the steps that will allow you to access this beautiful wisdom that exists in every single being. Now, we know that most will, not many will get that. And this is why we're speaking to you, because you have never been in an accidental place. You just kind of figure that out and put it together in particular ways. And that's what's happening now. But there'll be so much more of it coming up in the next several weeks, which is why we're doing this today, why we had to do it today. And the other thing we're going to talk about, we have been pushing our, many of you did not understand this, but you're starting to see it now. And we pushed our messenger to start speaking about relationships, because you're going to have difficulty with some of them now, because you're each dividing into different areas of who you're meant to become. And so your old relationships might give you some confusion because they're going to shift. But the one that you're meant to have is the relationship with yourself. Every relationship that you have had in your life was only for one purpose: to give you the reflection to see who you are, so that you could actualize that beautiful being that is within you. That's all that ever happened. And so, but your interpretations of all of that could be problematic for you. And we've given you many examples of that. So we're going to do something, and we want to get to as many questions as we can. And there was one that came in that was quite kind of lengthy, but we're just going to give you a general feeling of this one, because it's so universal and many of you have gone through it. So it might even answer some of your questions before we even get there. Okay.
Okay. Coming to this question here. And before I ask that question, I will say that the Q&A is live. So you can go ahead and click on the Q&A button to start asking your questions. And yes, all the questions that make it into our Q&A will be answered. And here's that question. I have a very positive and strong belief system that I am always full of well-being and forever ever young. I am 52 years young by physical birth and 50 officially on ID license. I'm a very healthy and forever young looking with no chronic illness. But I have those ongoing blisters and rashes on my fingers whenever I am in contact with water, especially washing dishes. Even wearing gloves to clean doesn't help. They get more irritated. Sometimes I joke around, or it might be true because I'm a princess or a queen in my past life and not meant to wash dishes. I know that belief needs to go. I'm using natural remedies like aloe, herbs, tea, etc. to heal. Could it just be how my irritation in life caused the irritation on my fingers? Maybe from unexpressed, bottled up feelings. Am I continuing to improve how I am continuing to improve how I swim better in the shallow end. And there is some past life stuff relating to fear of water and drowning to what I'm experiencing in this lifetime. Or is it just that a belief system that limits my thinking and doesn't serve me in this lifetime? Is that what's going on? How can I get rid of this belief system that I have to have dry hands in order to not get blisters and rashes on my fingers? And thank you so much for your time.
There's just so much in there. This is why we wanted to go with this one first. Yes, it is always because you're not accepting who you are. And your mind-body connection is typically all of that. Now, many of you will not necessarily heal everything on this physical level with just using mind body. You might need some other things, but we'll tell you that it's possible because we've demonstrated that with our being here. But yes, he used to have those little hand things too. He used to have those little rashes all over. It's because he wasn't grabbing onto what he was. You've done the same thing, and we know that because you said it in the very beginning, because you have this different thing, you have this awareness of different levels of understanding, because you said you were 50 on this in this place and 52 here, which means that you have an understanding of timelines. And also the first thing that you said is that you've been this spiritual on this path your entire life. You're never done with the path. And so many of you have had this. You said, I've been spiritual my entire life. Why is this not moving to the next place now? Because you're in a different time in your world. None of you are going to be the same, which is what we've said to you, which is why we've given you our work. You're not going to get through this easily. And it doesn't matter that you've been doing spiritual practices all of your life. There's still more. There are different dimensions. Our guide knows that he has so many more that he can ascend to, and they've been growing as we've been doing this work. It's same for you. So we're so pleased that you are doing that. And please don't try to get rid of the rash. Just try to grab who you are, and you will see that it'll start to leave. And it's not that you were you shouldn't be washing dishes. You should be owning the princess that you are. That's very different than avoiding washing dishes. It's about allowing that essence of the princess to come into your being. And we love you for that question because it's helped so many who have just heard it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for sending in that question. And the questions coming in from the attendees are rolling in. Can you comment on people who a psychologist might say have psychopathic tendencies? What if you feel like someone you know like that in your life has been very negatively impacted? Mm-hmm. Is it possible for a person like that to raise their consciousness so that they can stop harming others, or should we just stay no contact with them? How do we know that they have really changed?
There's several different things there. First of all, they're in your experience. You're seeing them because they're awakening you to the understanding of the consciousness and the awareness and the mental clarity that you possess. So that's the first thing. Yes, someone who has those conditions could be changed because it's all about a confluence of all these events that have happened throughout their different lifetimes, whatever they might have been, and they could clear them up if they chose to, because it's a process. However, sometimes, and this is why when you come across these beings, it may not be worth your effort to continually try to do that. That's not your job, first of all, but their beliefs may be so ingrained and going back so long that it would take forever for them to move through them. However, any being that you see that has this kind of divergent kind of personality or demonstrating something is there for each of you to see that you can do more, that you can accomplish more. They chose that. We're going to talk about that a bit more, because you think that these beings have been cursed with something, and none of you have been cursed with anything. You agree to experience something when you come onto the physical plane, because if you move through that particular limitation or judgment that you might have about another human or whatever, if you chose to live that and you move through it, you give something back to the collective consciousness that then permeates your world. This is why, and we want you to understand this goes on all the time. You have different things that have been developed, and there was one that we had our messenger see last night that none of you are understanding, and it was about because you complain about your AI, but there are other things that are being developed where people who have lost limbs now are being able to direct their minds to artificial limbs where they can feel things. And that was the most beautiful thing ever, was to be able to feel something. That's why you're all here, is to feel something on this physical, emotional level. You all exist in infinite intelligence, and that's forever. But you come to the physical plane because you want to have experiences, because you want to feel. The only way that expansion happens in you or in your world is you feel human emotions and decide what you're going to do with them. And hopefully you come to a place where you decide to love them all. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for your question. Next one. Lately, I've been hearing voices in my head that don't seem like mine. Mm-hmm. Stuff I'm hearing is really powerful. Mm-hmm. Is this my mind, or my guides, or something else?
It's all of those. You each have these. Now, we will tell you this. You all have these guides. You all have internal guidance. And we say that when we're speaking to you, we're activating that. That's why you resonate at times some of the things that we say, because we're activating this universal consciousness that you all possess. However, when you start becoming aware of the new ones, you're going to pay attention to how they feel. If they feel really pleasurable to you and they won't be like you, that's great. You're receiving guidance from this higher source that's allowing you to move through. And sometimes some of you will feel some really negative things. That means there's still something else in you wouldn't be attracting that unless there was something else within you that you're just willing to move through. The goal is to never be afraid of it, because that's what many of you do. Now, you will move into those beliefs that feel pleasurable to you. As we've said, when we first began giving our messenger our information in 1988, it frightened him. Even though it was feeling pleasurable and he knew that it was changing him, it was frightening. And so many of you do that not because something terrible is happening, but because you're experiencing a new aspect of yourself, which we put on the message today. You're experiencing a new aspect of yourself that is new and unknown. So that can bring up this fear of the unknown, because many of you do carry that, and you have a billions of people who are carrying that now, which is why you have a little bit of chaos in your world. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. Next question coming up. What do we do when we get sad, lonely, and want to end this life? Sometimes it's just too hard and I have to do everything by myself, and I'm often very lonely.
This is why we're here. Why do you think we called you here? Why do you think we've been doing this for all of these years? Well, for decades that you don't know. But we've been doing these talks for exactly that reason, because many of you have you've felt this burdens, and this world seems too challenging and too difficult, and I'm just going to get out of it. But then what happens when you get out of it? You discover, unfortunately, that the same problems that you were dealing with now, you're going to deal with in the next one, because you didn't resolve that. But it's okay. Even if you decide that you're going to end yourself and go over, then you come to this greater awareness. Oh, wow, that was just pointless. Why did I do that one? I'm going to have to come back and do things again. But since I'm over here on this other side now, let me send some really positive, wonderful energy to those who are still there. You think we're making this up? No, that's exactly what happens. But you have to decide what you want. And in this life, we want all of you to experience, because we know that we're not afraid of your death. We know that you extend and you're going to be around forever. But what we want now is for more of you to be happy, for more of you to love who you are, because that's going to be the greatest difference that you're going to make in your life at this time and what you're going to offer to your world. That's why this particular time is happening. And that's why all these configurations over the next several days are coming about, is to cause you to really look at that. So you are not going, and first of all, we must tell you that you're not going to do that, but we're so glad that you brought it up, because you expressed something that so many beings on your planet have been feeling, and many of them have been feeling for the last several years. So you expressing that is just so wonderful. But we also know you're never going to do it, because you know that you have more to offer. You know that you have more to bring into this world, but it's just been challenging for you to accept it. But don't worry, because we're going to keep talking to you. And as our guide says, we keep yelling at you. And we told him last night, we just give you tough love. That's all. Thank you.
Tough love indeed. Thank you for that question. Do I have a contract with God made before I chose this life? Is this why I am drawn here? Do you know what my contract is?
Yes and no. We know that you have one, but we're not going to tell you what yours is. We guide you to that. If you see all of our work, we ask you questions because it's within you. You each have these magnificent memories that you're not going to necessarily access in this particular lifetime, but you're all connected to something that came before. And so, yes, you were given that. And the reason you asked that question is because you just wanted confirmation, and now we're giving it to you. So we're so pleased that you did that. You each have this contract, and it is your unique life path, which is, again, why we gave you the message on June 11th of 2012 about your story. And we had one purpose with all of the work that we have given you, was to get each of you to understand the importance of your story, because nobody else has it. And it's just about how you decide to tell it. And you tell it in new ways when you interpret it to be meaningful, which is why we are doing the talk today. Yes, you have done that, and yes, you will fulfill it. This is why you're here and talking to us. And don't worry, because we can feel that part of you knows this, and the other part of you says, "No, I don't want to do it." And we know that one. Our messenger has done that one forever. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that question. I am a single Black woman with 43 years on Earth. 1, how do I start to prepare for a loving, fun, wise, and progressive male partner? 2, where should I hang out for us to meet? And 3, will I have children in this lifetime?
All of those are questions that you will answer, and you will answer by deciding if you want them. That's all that it is. It's about deciding that you want them. Everything is possible. We keep giving you messages to say that the only impossibilities that you create in your life are in your thinking, you see? And so when you move through that, you can have anything. Your age doesn't matter. We also gave you in our last talk, we were talking about Naomi Campbell having babies in her 50s. You can do anything, and there have been many other examples like that, but you have to decide what you want. And if you want those things, there's a couple of things that are happening, and we can feel this a little bit. There's a part of you that thought you're not going to have this, that you've been carrying that one around for a long time, that you're not worthy, that you're not deserving. We want, please let go of that. We want you to take another stance. We want you to start writing down what you want. And just write down what you want in terms of this man that you want to show up. What does he look like? What is he going to feel? How is he going to be? Start placing that into your consciousness, and then stop telling yourself that you don't deserve it. You see, that's the conflict that you've had. Many of you have these conflicts that continually go on in your and they're only existing in your thinking. You'll make one statement about what you want, and then in the next moment you're saying, no, that's not me, and I can't have it. And you've been doing that because we can feel it. So now just let that go. I mean, you have this judgment about your age too. You did all these wonderful things beforehand, and so now you're ready to really thrive. So we're thrilled about that. Just keep, but you must start putting down exactly what you want. Just keep, not that it's going to be here tomorrow, but just start putting it there, because that's what's going to manifest in your life eventually, if you stop telling yourself that you don't deserve it, because you do. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for that question. Roger shared a video of when he met Saima. She was so happy to meet him and seemed to recognize him. Was she working with the Akash? I'm asking because I believe that I work with the Akash in my sleep. Is this why I was really happy witnessing Roger meet Saima?
Yes. You each will come about, and see, you all hold back. And so what happened was someone saw us speaking through Roger. Just as Roger does when he allows himself to do it. And many of you have said that he can see what's within many of you, but he also held back. And so then you'll have those others who came around. This is how evolution works. If you don't get this, others who come around and just kind of drag you out and say, no, please come up, step up now. That's what we're doing with all of you. She just did it with him, and she's still doing it in different ways. And she still wants to take him even further, because you all will hold back, you see. And so when you have those others, this is why we wanted you also to come together in community, because it's much easier that way, because you're not feeling that you're alone, as the other guests started to feel. You're never alone, as we've told you before. But when you come together in community, and you can see these physical beings, and you're all doing the same thing, you feel more confident in what you're doing. And so, yes, you were awakened to that because it's part of who you are. All of the energies that you each carry will have an attraction factor. This is why many of you don't understand the law of attraction, because you made it in different ways, thinking it's just about bringing good stuff in. No, it's about showing you that your energies will attract the correct situations and circumstance and events into your life, so that you can witness them. That brings another memory to who you are. And that's exactly what you did. So we're so pleased about that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for that question. Is it okay to use plant medicine to help open the mind or communicate with guides? Or should we just trust with time and continue to work with it and that it will become easier? I don't know why my mind feels so closed to the other side. I have done past life regressions and would love to communicate with my guides there.
It depends. We've given our guys several different experiences of that. It depends on how much resistance you have. You each can reach these higher dimensions if you put in the time and effort of doing that. But sometimes your barriers have been so extensive for many of you. This is why plant medicines have been around forever and they're so popular. And then even in your ancient civilizations. So, and then in your what you're going to find now is that your more indigenous people use those, and wherever country you might have been, you'll see that more indigenous people use them because they had an ancient memory, knowing of how powerful they were. However, you don't need to use those, but if it helps you to access that other part of you, then it could be helpful. Our messenger, he had all of these folks around him for years, having him do these different drugs, and at one point, he did these mushrooms, which many of you do, and they give you the same kind of an effect. And then he went, and we allowed him to do this. So we said, okay, you're going to do this now if you think that's going to help you. And he did. And then he went to other countries and he spoke in different languages, which he could do very well. He can still do it today. And he can still give you different accents and all of that. And you wonder how that happens. Well, you have, and this is why we always talk about your DNA, is because you're connected to everyone who has ever existed. And so sometimes using plant medicines will get you to expansiveness in your thinking that gets you to believe a little bit more. But then there are others of you who will become reliant on those, however. And then you think the only way you can access consciousness is if you do a plant medicine or a retreat. And that's okay if you're going to keep doing, if that is serving you. You each will make that decision. What we did with our messenger, he said, oh, I never need to do that again now. I know the different existences. This was 5 years ago, by the way. And he says, I know all the different existences because I experienced them. But now what I have to do is allow myself to experience my connection in this physical body and this lifetime to all of those existences and make them real here so that I can live this really wonderful life. That's what you're all doing. Whatever means that you feel is guiding you to expansiveness, then please use that, just as long as you don't become dependent, because that's what many of you do. You become dependent on certain things. We have not even allowed you to become dependent on us. This is why we do these talks sporadically. We do mainly around the moon times, because that's when more energy is happening and our being is connected to more of that energy. And as we said, if you look at the configuration of this particular day, you will understand why. And well, we would have to give you his astrological chart to make sense of that. However, if you think you need to do that, then do it. But just understand that you can still move into this expansive being without anything, but don't judge yourself for however you choose to get there. That's the most important thing. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for that question. And just wanting to share that the Q&A button is now closed. If you did not get in your question, please bring that into the next session. However, all questions that have been asked will be answered. And the next question here is, hello, I have newly learned to lead with love. How can I reach my father who has recently passed last month? I feel there's messages that he's trying to send, and I'm not thinking that it's bad but urgent. However, I'm unsure of how to connect in that way. What can I do to reach that level?
You just did it. You've just done it. You've just done it. Your father is sending you messages about love, and you just spoke those words. And that's how you have to receive it. You see, and what you're feeling is that he's sending you this love, but you're still resisting for a little bit because of new awareness that is coming into you. But just understand that he is sending you that love because we can feel it. And he is guiding you, and he is saying, oh, you're here at a perfect time on your planet to now shine and be love. That's who you are. That's what you all are. But sometimes you will have these incidents that will happen that will show you this is what's occurring. We can even tell you that our message for you tomorrow will be about synchronicities. See, we can tell you what's happening in the advance because we know where you are right now. But your father knows where you are right now as well, because when you leave physical form, you have that expansive being. Not all beings, it depends on what you do, but most beings will have this expansive awareness that say, oh, now I understand. And let me connect with those on my if they're part of my soul family, let me connect with them and send them this expanded energy so they understand what's going on and this progression that you're all moving through. We're saying that because we want you to understand, because many of you haven't gotten this, is that your world is a continual form of progression, just as you are. But when you halt it, then you end up with a world that looks a little insane. But you are here, as we've told you, you're moving through a restructuring. So all of you exist now to make things better. And the only way you can do that is by deciding to love yourself. And so you just had that and we're so wonderful. No, you don't have to do anything. You're there. You just have to stop denying what's coming through. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that question. What is the reason for this recurring cancer and what can I do to heal it for good?
You're too focused on your physical body. You are not your physical body. And so you've had these well, there's so many things here. Wow, you were just so powerful. You've had recurrences because you almost kind of went to the other side, but you said, no, I'm not done yet. So let me kind of heal this. But then it kept coming back because you still hadn't accepted why you were having them in the first place, which was to cause you to love who you are. We've used this so many times recently. Because there are different beings who will come into your planet and they will live lives and make demonstrations of that when they can accept what has gone on. And that one person is Anita Morjani. We just love to bring up people who have written books that you might read. And she wrote one called Dying to Be Me. And that's going to resonate for you because that's what you're doing. You're dying to become yourself. And that's what she was talking about because she was able to heal herself when she came to that awareness, but she almost had to die to do it. Now, we don't feel that you're going that far because you're at this place now where you can move through this. And it's going to be a day by day awareness of you just moving through the love that you are receiving from every incident of cancer that you had and then move through because you're supposed to be here to demonstrate for others what is possible. And you're doing it. So thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for that question. I am from Greece, and after spending half my life in several countries, I am back. It has now been 8 years that I am here, and it is one nightmare after another.
Mm-hmm.
It is very difficult, to say the least, that there have been so many attacks from people, so many things go wrong, so many health issues, my family totally renouncing and abandoning me with no conflict or reason. I am totally alone. I wonder if this is the universe telling me to go and that I am in the wrong place. In any case, I feel like an outsider, although I feel like a global outsider.
Mm-hmm.
But the residence is very big here.
Mm-hmm.
Many thanks for any insights.
You have been placed there for your growth and for that country's growth as well. And you're going to decide what you're going to do with it. Now, it's never supposed to be stressful. So if you're going to feel that is really bringing you down, that might not be the right place for your further development. But we're not feeling that. We're feeling that you went back because there was something that you hadn't completed, and that's what you're going to do. You're having completed it within your journey and within the journey of your country, because there are many things that they are moving through as well, as all countries are now. We've told you this is a global restructuring, so you're going to see it everywhere that you might live. However, when you're placed in a particular situation, it is always for your growth, and you're never being punished, but you have to figure out how you're going to use that. Sometimes it might be that you decide, well, my place of lineage, my place of birth is no longer serves me, and so I don't need to be here, and this is really too stressful. Or you will say, I was placed here because I know that if I become the strong being that I'm meant to become, I'm going to make a difference. I'm going to be an example, and so many others will see this, and they'll start to change, and everything will be better, and I'll heal my country. Now, that sounds really insane to many of you, but you could each do it if you chose to. But as an individual choice, we've been bringing up many of your past leaders who somehow decided that they would be the ones that would make a difference in your world. You each have that ability. There's no one else who has more of it, but you have to decide if in this particular lifetime, if that feels resonant for you, if that feels like the loving thing that you want to do in your life now. But what we're feeling is that there are many judgments that you're having, and if you're able to move through the judgments, the clarity of where you want to be, that's going to further your existence will become really apparent. But please, you're not in a place to make that decision right at this moment. We want you to just stay with this for a while, and the clarity will start to come through. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for that question. How can I connect to the source or the creator from moment to moment? I want to feel and experience love from the creator so that I know that I am on the right path of my soul contract. However, life here on Earth and the need to earn a living often distracts me from the loving presence of the Creator. Please ask the Wilhelm Group and my guides to assist me. Thank you kindly.
You are doing it right now. There is nothing that you have to do to access your guidance because it's always there. What's happening though is that you're kind of blocking it off. You're not understanding what you were given. So there's something in there that you still have to accept about yourself because you have such awareness of what's going on, but there's this other part of you that has not allowed yourself to believe that you have that awareness. That's what we're feeling now. So it's just going to be, because you said it in the first, and when you in the first sentence, day by day, that's how any of you do anything. You don't, and this is why we were referring to that other message where someone was doing a spiritual practice forever. You're never done with that. You don't reach some place where, okay, I've been doing this and now I'm this evolved. No, it keeps going. And so you are doing that now. And so you said in the beginning, the key to all of it was the day by day practice. And the practice is allowing yourself to understand what information you're receiving and then stop denying it. Because that's the other thing that you each do. We're going to say this because many of you have opened up to and you started doing things like automatic writing or starting to try to channel and all of that. We can feel so many of you who are doing those sorts of things. But then in the next instant, you start to think you're crazy. You start to judge it. You don't want anybody to see it or tell anybody you're doing that. And so that's the part that you must let go of, that denial that comes up. But the process that you are aware of, which is so powerful, is day by day. That's all. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that question. Hello, Wilhelm. My daughter and I, we want to thank you so much for always making the time to help everyone around you. We also want to ask you when our financial status will flow again. These past few years have been very slightly stuck financially, like someone turned off the tap.
Mhm.
Sometimes it trickles in, but it hasn't been flowing like it's supposed to. And it feels like that tap ought to be open and we ought to receive the flow of financial abundance. We simply wanted to ask you if you see it being opened very soon, because we have so many plans ahead of us and it feels like that this is our time to experience all of them.
Yes. Yes, we're so glad many of you are hearing us. If you go back to our messages, and we actually put one out, we shared another one that we did last year on July 20th of 2022, where we said all of these things, but many of you could not hear it. Even our messenger wouldn't hear us because we kept telling him, we need you to embody more abundance. See, it's energy. It's just energy, and it's the energy of the money that will energy of anything that will attract what you want into your lives. That's all. But this particular time is a really powerful one because you're shifting on a much larger scale. You're shifting not only for yourself but for your planet. You see. And this is why you're seeing this is why you're seeing all the power struggles about money going on, why you have the particular strikes in the US and the looming ones that might come up, why you're worrying about recessions or the global downfall. None of that has to happen if more of you start to allow the abundance to come into your life. And we're saying this because you each cut it off. You cut it off because you don't think you're worth that much. You can't ask for the money that you should deserve. We have our messenger go through this all the time, and this is why we had him change things, but now we've gotten him at a place where we wanted to create something where anyone could afford it, and that's what we've done. And so we told him, you cannot make this any less, because see, then you keep perpetuating this poverty consciousness that many of you still possess, and it's generational. We want you to understand that it's generational. We could take you back and show you all of the different rulers who have existed from the beginning of time, who have moved through your lives and controlled the resources. They were in different forms, not always money, but there were different forms of resources that were controlled. That control kept getting loosened over each civilization, and this is the one that you wanted to loosen it so much more. But you can only do that when you decide to loosen it within yourself, and it's consciousness, and it's the thing that you must do each and every day. Now, it's challenging for you because you will, in one moment, as we said, have this idea that we're supposed to have this money, but then the old beliefs are still there, telling you you're not worth it, that you're insignificant, you don't deserve it, and it's not your fault. We want you to understand that it's something that's been implanted within you. But if you don't go through the day by day, as we've been saying, ritual of changing that perspective and reprogramming your brain, then nothing changes. And it takes courage to do that, because you still have these old things. Even with our messenger here, we had to keep forcing him, because many of you do this. You think that you want to give everything for everyone else and make it all that. Not everyone is going to want to change. You have to decide to take care of yourself first, but it comes in your consciousness. It comes in changing your beliefs about who you are and your value. This is why we have the message, your life is more meaningful now. And that meaning turns into every kind of abundance when you can accept it. And that acceptance comes through understanding your individual life path, what you've experienced, what you've lived, and knowing the abundance that has brought you in this moment. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that question. So glad to be here. Often I see clear visions of myself being a self. I have clear visions of myself as a thriving artist who is generating revenue while creating her passion and connecting to souls with light around the world. But sometimes I get overwhelmed with how to get there, especially when people around me don't see it the same way. I feel the power within, but the path seems full of different opportunities, so it gets hard to pick the right one to focus on. How can I stay on that vision without interruptions?
You have several things moving on. First of all, you do have this wonderful gift that you're going to bring through, and all of the things that you said in the beginning were absolutely true. And it was the gift that you were given to bring into the world at this time, but you didn't believe it. That's all. You just didn't trust it enough. And so then you created all these obstacles, these out-seeming obstacles in your family and friends too, because we can feel that. So you created all these obstacles around you that would say, no, it's not you and you can't do it. But you created the obstacles because you wanted to believe in yourself. That's all. And so the more that you move into believing in who you are, keep envisioning your dream. Your imagination is so incredibly important, especially now. And so as you keep putting that forth in your consciousness every single day, as we said, day by day, you are trying to get there without doing the work of embodying who you have become in each and every day. And this is another message that we gave you this week, is about embodying who you have become. We want each of you to understand that each and every day you become something more. That's because of what you've lived, what you've experienced. Every single soul does it. But if you don't access that and appreciate what you've gained, then it doesn't come into fruition. You can't manifest the things that you want. So we're just going to say this because you're right, and please just keep doing what you're doing. You just need to every day change the old belief into the new. That's what all of you are doing, by the way. But in this particular instance, we want you to understand that you have the vision, because we can feel that you knew this is what you were meant to do, but that doubt about it is there. We've told you, our messenger, we've told him what we wanted him to do many years ago, but it took all of this time for him to then finally say, okay, yeah, I got to do this now. You're doing the same thing, but we want you, please, you are right there. We keep saying that to many of you, but you're right there, and you just have to keep taking the steps. And there's also, we're not feeling that you have put the financial aspect of this together in a very clear way that others can accept it and that you can accept it. But that's the next thing that you're going to move through. But no, you're on the right path, and please just, you're going to keep going. We're going to keep talking about this for all of you. So thank you for that.
Yes, thank you so much for that question. And we've got 2 more questions to go. Today, I was so angry and depressed, as I haven't been recently. I heard someone mentioning energy draining from other beings. Can this be the case, or is it just unprocessed feelings of myself?
We love you so much. It's all of that. This is why we're doing this. You all are going to have that. The energies in your world have been so, and they're massive, and there are going to be more of them. This is why we're doing this. This is why we had to do it today. Yes, you're going to feel the anger that you're feeling. First of all, let's just take them apart. The anger is your anger at yourself because there's stuff in you that you know you have that you just have not been able to hold on to yet. But that's your entire planet is doing that, so it's okay. So just understand that's why you have the anger. Now, we don't want you to express it to anyone else because you've felt that too. You've been lashing out and you feel like you want to go and attack those others or make this. And so, but that's just awakening you to something within you that you have yet to accept. That's all that is. And so, and this is why you were depressed as well. Depression and anger are so interrelated, we can't even begin to tell you because they're always a denial of the self. And the self that we're talking about is your eternal self, that self that knows about ultimate reality and that you're all connected to the ultimate source and to God. That's the self that we're talking about. And so when you're having these moments of depression, you've just lost your way and you haven't connected to that yet. But it's just a process. This is why all the work that we've given you has been a process to understand that you just keep going along. And then again, like we said, we gave you a being to show you how it turns out. You become happy. And this is what we also want you, why we wanted you to understand today. This is why when someone said that they love our lightheartedness, well, yeah, because you've all suffered too much and you can't get over what you're doing now unless you let go of the suffering. And so you are doing that in your work at this moment, and it's going to be beautiful. Just stay on it and just keep moving in the direction that you're feeling called to now, and it's going to keep unfolding. That's just really wonderful. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for that. And our final question. Some days I feel very optimistic, and some days I feel so frustrated about my husband's work situation.
Mm-hmm.
He got laid off,
Mm-hmm.
changed careers, and he's now laid off again.
Mm-hmm.
Within 15 years of marriage, he's only worked for a third of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any advice for someone who's so beaten down?
Mm-hmm. Well, you're both beaten down, by the way. He's trying to find himself, and you're frustrated with him trying to find himself because you're doing the same thing. And so you've come together to figure out this dilemma. That's what it is. And so you're going to decide, am I going to keep doing what I'm doing and supporting him, even though he keeps falling apart? Or am I going to help him get the help that he needs to get into the right place so that we both come up together? Those are the choices that you have. You're not put in an accidental situation. Your husband wasn't accidental. And the things that he's moving through just tell us that he hasn't found who he is yet. And that's frustrating for him. And it reflects back on you. And you start to see that. But it keeps being laid off because he hasn't found that thing that keeps him in the right place, that gets him excited. And so there's some understanding that you could bring to that. And maybe it's about finding out, well, what is it that you want to do? What is it? And that's a process that you might not want to go into. This is why you each take your different courses, why we have our course and all of that, so that you can find your individual path. But we will say that you're in your relationship. This is why we are going to relationships, because many of you are going to find this. This is exactly what we were talking about, that you start to discover that you're in different places. But we will say to you, and this is what you're each going to figure out, the places are not wrong. Those are just interpretations that you've made. This situation is giving you something for your growth, your evolvement, your ascension, as your planet is doing. And so that's what you are figuring out. And so, but the first thing we want you to do is how we feel this judgment that you have on your husband, but just shift that a little bit to understanding he's just not found who he is yet. And so whatever you can do energetically to help him with that, great. But then you're going to start to look at yourself too. What do you want? So there are many different questions that you are going to answer, because you each are supposed to have these autonomous lives where you're feeling sustained and happy without the needs of others, but you use others to get to that place, you see. And so that's where you are now. And so don't worry. There's nothing that's going on right at this moment, because we just gave you something that will give you a little time to think and start to shift your perception. And we're going to see very different results soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that question. And that was the final question.
Thank you. We want to leave you with one last thing. We brought this together because we want you to understand that your world is going to be moving through some major changes, and the way that those changes become the ones that you want to experience in your life when you decide to move through any restrictions and doubts that you've had about who you are and start to love yourself. That's the most powerful thing that you can do. And the thing that's so crazy that none of you have understood is that the way that your world, what you're looking at now, the way that it gets better is when you decide to love who you are and become happy. We know that those things seem so counter juxtaposed, so to speak, in different ways, but that's exactly what's happening. And you will understand it all very soon. And we love you all so very much. Thank you.
I haven't done anything like this.
It's increased the confidence that I've had in myself.
Everything is better. I mean, every single aspect of my life. My income, the progress is just amazing. Like, you can see changes from week to week.
Introducing your last development program, Life Transformation for Success, the newest part of Roger Burnley's coaching series. In this 3-month online program, you will learn the mindset tools you need to dissolve the shame of your past, discover the gifts within you that make you important to the world, and get the confidence to rise above anything that stands between you and the life that you want.
Everything changed in my life. Everything. Every single thing.
It's time for you to reprogram your mind for success and become self-actualized. If you're ready to transform your life too, learn more at yourlastdevelopmentprogram.com today.